Okay, this is part 11. Sorry if y'all are getting so confused. My modern technology shit's fucking up on me. But, anyways, where I left off last, it was the worst mistake of my life to give him an answer that day at school. So he had asked me, hey, what's going on? Am I coming and getting you after school? So I texted him back. I said, yeah, that's fine. I'll meet you after I get out of class. And so I had my government class upstairs, and something in my gut told me that day that what I was about to do was the worst mistake of my life. And I was dead ass serious on that. And so I get out of class, walking across the goddamn bridge to the other side of the school building, which was across the fucking street. Walk down the steps, out the door to the left side of the parking lot. He's standing there by his truck, acting like everything's all cool, peachy keen and jelly bean. And he comes over to me. He's like, well, what's up, beautiful? You look good. And I'm like, thanks, I guess. And so I was like, okay, so what's up? And he goes, I wanted to be around you. I wanted to see you. I wanted to come and, be around you and be with you. And I'm like, okay, so what's up? We're not together, so what do you want to talk about? And he's like, you're my baby. We're high school sweethearts. We're meant to be. We'll always be meant to be. I'm madly in love with you, blah, 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 blah. And so, now, don't get it motherfucking twisted. I've heard this for years. And I was like, what are you getting at? And he goes, well, we're high school sweethearts. He's like, I want to be with you. I want to make this right. I want to make this work and everything else. And he's like, well, have you made your mind up if you're going off to college or if you're taking that offer? I said, I haven't made my mind up yet. And, so this around the time me and my grandma, we started having a lot of issues. And this was also around the time I was still dating Chris. And so I was telling him, me and my grandma got into it before I left and everything. And she was pissed at me about this and pissed at me about that, so on and so forth. And he was like, oh, screw her, she don't matter, blah, 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 at that time. And he's like, she just don't want us to be together. Your whole family don't want us with each other, all this and all that. Well, as, the day went along, I didn't think nothing about it. I didn't put anything into it. And, he just was like, oh, you're my girl. I love you. I want to marry you. I want you to have my baby. I have the apartment, we're living our lives, this and this and that. And so he was like, well, you're getting closer and closer to your graduation. Are you going to come and be with me so we can be together and be living our lives and do what we have actually planned or what? I said, well, first off, you and I are broken up. I said, technically, I can do what the fuck I want. If I want to go be with another person, I can. If I want to go date another person, I can. And he goes, excuse me? He's like, no, I don't think you can. And the thing about it is, at that time, he's like, you're mine, all mine. I've claimed you, you're all mine. And back then, if you grew up the old school way like I did, back then, the way you was raised, if you gave a certain something to your spouse, your boyfriend, or whatever, back then you are destined to be with that person. And I was like, no, I don't want to be with you. I'm just done with you. I don't want nothing to do with you. Just leave me alone. And weirdly enough, closer to that night, I was with him in his truck, and he was like, I don't want to lose you. I'm crazy in love with you. I want to marry you. You know, I want to make this work. I want you back. I said, you want me back? Why? So you can just break up with me again? And he's like, no, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. And I said, this is how it is every single time. And he's like, you know you're mine. You know you belong to me and this and that. Now, mind you, I've known this boy, at that time, I had just turned 18. It was almost a year I've known him. And, you know, as time went along, things continued to get worse. And it was like, I got home that night. I was talking with my grandma. She was tripping balls on me. She's like, why'd you go and do that? Why'd you go and spend time with him after school? Why'd you do that? I was like, Grandma, stop tripping. Like, damn, just stop. And my grandma was like, no, you don't understand. You know, you got all these big offers, and you got all these colleges looking at you. You know, you got a good chance of a good life. You don't want to go and be wasting it on a boy. And at that time, both families was going at it. My family versus his family. And his family thought it was the better idea for me and him to be together after graduation. And during that time that we were broken up, I just didn't want to be with him. I didn't want to have nothing to do with him. I didn't want to be around it. I didn't want nothing to do with him because he was just so toxic. And I got home that night and my grandma was like, so what's going on with like you and him? I said, I don't know. I'm like, I'm so confused. I mean, he's just wanting this and wanting that, wanting me to give up my life, wanting me to go off to college and this and that. And the thing about it is, when you're giving up something that you've known your whole life, that you've been wanting for so long, for so bad, you don't want to give it up. And as y'all know, the whole story of my daughter and all that, I've already posted that. I'm not going into all that. But the thing about it is, his parents and my parents tried to keep us together. And I'm going to start, I don't know how to put it. I'm going to start at this point. So, it was the month of graduation, and I had so many decisions in my head, what I was going to do, if I was going off to college, if I was going to go be with him, get married, be a wife, have a baby, and this and that. So, like, the week before graduation, I had finally made my mind up what I was going to do. My girlfriends was blowing me up, texting me, hey, what are you going to do after graduation? And so I told him, I said, I'm going off to college. I'm not going to date a boy that keeps playing fucking head games. And over time, like, when I was thinking about it, I just kept thinking in my head, where could I be with him in like 5 years? Where could I be with him in like blah, 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 blah years? And it just kept telling me, bad idea, bad idea, bad idea. So the week of graduation, I had so much going on. I had to go get my hair done, my nails done, my outfit, my shoes, the whole 9 yards. Well, not knowing prior to that, I kept feeling sick. And I told my grandma, I said, I don't feel good. Something's not right with me. And my grandma was like, it's probably just nerves, you know, this, that. You're just going into college. You're getting nervous. You know, this is graduation. You don't want to screw up. And during that time, I didn't want to think it was what I thought it was. And so that night of graduation, of course, his parents was there. My parents was there. He was there. I was there. And the whole time during the graduation ceremony, I just kept getting hot and hotter and hotter and hotter. And I just felt sick. And I was texting him. I'm like, something's not right with me. I said, something is not right. And so towards the very end of this ceremony, I get my diploma, walk off stage, toss my thing up in the air and everything. We're taking pictures, and afterwards, me and him, we pull our families into the other room. And we're at a different part of the town. And he was like, there's a possibility that I might be a dad. And his mom's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And he told his parents, he said, she might be pregnant with my baby. And his mom looked at me and was like, are you joking? You two are a year apart in age. Are you kidding? And my family's like, what's going on? And I looked at my grandma, and having to look at your parents when you're 18 years old and having to admit that was the most scariest thing in my life. Like, I'm not even gonna lie about it. And I told my grandparents, I said, there's a possibility I'm pregnant. And that whole saga, I've already posted about it. Y'all already know about it. So go watch that. And I will start this new saga. So stay tuned for part 12. Deuces.